In the initial shots, we see how the police brought a woman to one of the city buildings. Miriam is under custody, but today she has a chance to receive forgiveness. The mother admonished her in promising that everything would be fine, but Miriam doesn't believe it. There is very little time left before the live broadcast, so the mother asks the daughter to change her black hijab to brown. Producer Mr. Ayat explained to them how the show would proceed. This event coincides with the celebration of Yalda, symbolizing forgiveness. Ayat intends to achieve Miriam's release at any cost. This is her last chance. Suddenly everyone around started to fuss. Miriam realized that something was wrong, but her mother said it did not concern them. Since Miriam is convicted, she is prohibited from leaving the studio without an escort. Miriam is very nervous before the live broadcast. The mother reminds her daughter that she should be courteous to Mona, as her fate depends on this woman. Miriam does not believe that Mona will grant her forgiveness, as she is a wealthy and influential woman. However, Miriam has no other choice but to try. Mona hasn't arrived yet, but I had assured that she would be arriving soon. He told Miriam that during the broadcast she would have to tell her story to the whole world. Miriam stepped into the studio where the show will take place. But what worries her the most are not the cameras, but the fact that Mona still hasn't shown up. While the host was addressing the viewers, the mother took her daughter to the dressing room, where she was tidied up. Miriam begins to get more nervous. The hustle and bustle around her scares her. The time for the live broadcast has come. Miriam heard the host tell the viewers that the heroine of their show will either receive forgiveness or her sentence will be carried out. She had received capital punishment for the crime she had committed. In honor of the Yalda holiday, a victim's relative has the right to forgive the offender. However, Miriam is very doubtful that Mona will do so. Time passes, and Mona still hasn't arrived. The host was distracting the viewers as best he could. Miriam's anxiety is growing. The viewers were shown a documentary about tragic stories related to crimes committed by women, and Miriam is one of those women. She took her husband's life in their own home. However, Miriam insists it was unintentional. The circumstances were such that she had to choose between her husband and child. That's what she claimed in court. Unfortunately, Miriam was never able to become a mother, having lost her son. She also received capital punishment for her crime. As it turned out, Miriam had kept her pregnancy a secret, which eventually led to a conflict with her husband. Before they got married, her husband Nazar had made it a condition that they wouldn't have children. Miriam agreed to this, but then broke the agreement. Finally, Mona arrived, while the live broadcast was showing Miriam's interview, in which she was telling her version of the events. When Miriam learned that Mona had arrived, she felt a glimmer of hope. Miriam saw Mona from afar and wanted to talk to her privately, but it was not possible at the moment. Meanwhile, the live broadcast showed scenes of Miriam talking about how she left her injured husband. The girl got scared and simply ran away. Nazar fought for his life for another hour, but ultimately passed away. If Miriam had immediately called an ambulance, Nazar would have survived. This is exactly why the court showed no leniency towards her. However, many people sided with Miriam, considering her innocent. Miriam is extremely nervous and does not want to go on stage. The mother tried to calm her down, but to no avail. Then Ayat asked Miriam for a private conversation, reminding her of their agreement. If Miriam does not tell her story, it will be the end for her. Meanwhile, a woman named Anna and her husband are insistently trying to see Miriam's mother, but the guard is not letting them in. It's impossible until the live broadcast ends. Ayat fears that Miriam will spoil the show too, so he ordered her mother to come to the studio. This made Miriam change her mind. She doesn't want someone else telling her story and is determined to do it herself. Miriam went into the studio, hearing the anchor asking viewers to participate in a text message vote and decide as a country whether Miriam deserves forgiveness. Mona, Nazar's daughter, was also already here and sitting opposite Miriam. Meanwhile, Anna is still trying to get a conversation with Miriam's mother, but she is not allowed. Mona talked about herself. She has a degree in graphic design and is currently leading her father's agency. Mona has neither brothers nor sisters. Mona emphasized that she loved her father very much, as he did her. Despite the circumstances, the woman looked very restrained and did not show strong emotions. The host asked Miriam to talk about the first meeting with Mona. Miriam said that she was 6 years old then. Mona in turn remembered that Miriam's father was her father's personal driver. Their families became friends. Everyone thought that Miriam married Nazar only for the money, but Miriam assured that this was not the case. In fact, she genuinely loved her husband. Ever since Miriam's father passed away 12 years ago, Nazar had been supporting her entire family. Mona also helped both Miriam and her mother, treating the girl as a younger sister. When the host asked Miriam if she regretted what she had done, the girl answered that she is not a criminal. However, Mona does not agree with this. She believes that Miriam deserves punishment. Mona also wonders why Miriam did not save Nazar after pushing him. Miriam answered that she was in a state of shock and did not know what to do. Miriam is very grateful to her late husband and Mona for everything they have done for her. And she really is sorry that everything turned out this way, but the past cannot be undone. Mona confirmed the fact that she paid for Miriam's education. She wanted a better future for her. According to Miriam, she didn't want to marry Nazar, but he insisted on the marriage, constantly buying her gifts. At first Miriam refused him. Of course Mona was against this marriage, believing that Miriam was only interested in her father's money. Many viewers are convinced that Mona will never forgive Miriam. Of course she has every right to do so. Miriam assures that her mother also began to insist on this marriage, as Nazar greatly helped their family. However, Mona objects, saying that it's nonsense. Her father was not such a person and didn't need anyone's pity. Ayat is worried that Miriam can't handle her emotions. She really can't control herself. Mona on the other hand remains calm and says that all the 22-year-old Miriam wanted was to get hold of her 65-year-old husband's money. Her unplanned pregnancy proves this. Miriam in turn accuses Mona of fearing that the inheritance from her father would pass to his wife and their common child, so she did everything to prevent this from happening. Madame Fayraz, a renowned photographer, entered the studio. This was necessary to defuse the situation, because the tension between Miriam and Mona threatened the reputation of their show. Anna and her husband continue to wait for the end of the broadcast to talk to Miriam's mother. Meanwhile, Fayraz entertained the viewers while Miriam and Mona remained silent. At the end, Fayraz said that a person should never doubt when doing a good deed. The live broadcast was interrupted for commercials. The host advised Miriam not to show such aggression towards Mona, otherwise it will end badly for her. Finally, Anna was able to arrange a meeting with Ayat's assistant and told her something shocking. Meanwhile, Ayat told Miriam that there are no guarantees now that Mona will forgive her. With her emotional behavior, Miriam ruined everything. However, the new circumstances can turn the case around. That same couple, having talked to Ayat, brought a boy, claiming that he is Miriam's son. According to Anna, it was Miriam's mother who insisted on this, because she was sure that her daughter had no chances of salvation. In this way, the mother wanted to protect her grandson. Miriam took the child in her arms, not believing that her son was replaced in the maternity hospital with the son of this couple, who did not survive. But it was true. Anna couldn't have children anymore, so she agreed to this, but then conscience tortured her. The woman realized that she had committed a huge sin. Miriam cried bitterly, while her mother denied everything. But Miriam already understood that the mother had been lying to her all this time. The woman justified her act by the fact that Mona would never have forgiven Miriam if she had found out about the child. Miriam doesn't understand how the mother could have done this to her, since she committed this terrible crime only for the sake of her son. When everyone calmed down more or less, I had advised Miriam to seek forgiveness at any cost, and then prove in court that this boy is her son. Now the most important thing for her is to save her life. It's time for the live broadcast again. The host asked Miriam if she acknowledges her guilt. Miriam stated that she takes full responsibility for this crime. She just wanted to become a mother and was ready to do anything for her child. Miriam started begging Mona for forgiveness. Mona kept silent for a long time, unsure of what to do. She refused to appeal to the viewers. Law students are in the studio and urge Mona to show mercy and forgive Miriam. In the students' opinion, Miriam has suffered enough and deserves a second chance. The host reminded the viewers that if Mona takes pity, Miriam will be released from prison within 3 to 6 years. Over 6 million viewers have sent messages supporting Miriam, but the voting is not over yet. The broadcast was interrupted by commercials. Mona left the studio to make her decision alone. Miriam is in despair, fearing that Mona will not forgive her. Meanwhile, Miriam's mother is looking after her grandson. She is very worried about her daughter's fate, which completely depends on Mona. She is pondering at this time. On the one hand, she wants justice for her father, and on the other, she understands that Miriam genuinely regrets her mistake. Suddenly Mona heard crying and went to check what was happening. She saw Miriam's mother with the boy in her arms. Of course it shocked her. Mona went outside to calm down and reflect on what she saw. Suddenly Mona got into her car, intending to drive away. Ayat's assistant tried to stop her, but in vain. Mona runs away because she has no intention of forgiving Miriam, fearing that her son will claim the inheritance. Mona didn't expect that Miriam's mother would deceive them all. Suddenly the woman got distracted while driving and hit a motorcyclist. The man wasn't injured, but since Mona started to be rude to him, he demanded she get out of the car. There was panic in the studio due to Mona's disappearance. Meanwhile, 14 million people have voted to forgive Miriam. The girl is nervous because if Mona has run away, then it's all over. Meanwhile, the assistant caught up with Mona and apologized to the motorcyclist for her. Eventually the conflict was resolved. The assistant brought Mona back to the studio. The prosecutor explained to her that she has the right to become the guardian of Miriam's son, but he will inherit twice as much as her because he is a boy. The prosecutor also told Mona that revenge has a high price. If she doesn't forgive Miriam now, she will pay for it for the rest of her life. It's time for the live broadcast again. Miriam's mother and the prosecutor were also present. Everyone is hoping for a happy ending to this story. Mona said that her father's demise had caused her great pain, but despite everything she found the strength to forgive Miriam. Everyone started applauding. Miriam and her mother were hugging in tears. Since the messages supporting Miriam exceeded 20 million, the show's sponsors will pay Mona the full amount of money ordered by the court, removing this encumbrance from Miriam. The girl wanted to apologize to Mona personally, but she did not want to listen to her. After the program, Miriam's mother sincerely thanked Ayat for telling this story to the whole world. For Mona, this decision was very difficult. Miriam hopes that she will help her prove that Nazar is the father of her son. But Mona told her to forget about it. Miriam isn't giving up and intends to carry out a DNA test to prove kinship. Now she has found a purpose in life. However, she will have to spend a few more years in prison first. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.